Welcome to the history of the radiator. Before we begin, a brief note for your safety. Please do not listen to this wander through history while driving or operating machinery. Only listen when you're somewhere you can relax safely and completely. Tonight we begin with something simple and universal, the human need for warmth. Long before radiators, long before pipes and boilers and cast iron fins, warmth was a matter of survival. It shaped where people lived, how they built their homes, and how they gathered together. Imagine one of the earliest human shelters, a small hut made from branches, hides, and earth, its entrance angled away from the wind. Inside, the air is cool and still. A small fire burns at the centre, its flames flickering softly, casting amber light across the curved walls. People sit close, not just for heat, but for companionship, safety, and the reassurance of glowing embers. For tens of thousands of years, fire was tended almost reverently. Sparks were carried from place to place. Ashes were banked overnight, so the morning could begin with a gentle breath and a returning flame. Heating wasn't a technology yet. It was a ritual, a shared responsibility, and a source of comfort. As settlements grew, hearths became the heart of the home. In ancient Greece and Rome, braziers made of bronze or clay held glowing coals, warming small rooms with a soft, steady heat. In Egypt, simple firepots glowed in the corners of stone houses. Everywhere, the same pattern repeated, people gathering around warmth, shaping their lives around the places where heat could be found. This early heating was direct and intimate. You could feel the warmth on your skin, smell the wood smoke, hear the crackle of burning twigs. It was comforting, but limited. Heat rose and escaped. Rooms stayed cold. And as cities grew and winters pressed harder, people began to imagine something more. A way to warm not just a single room, but an entire building. The desire for controlled warmth, repeated across centuries, would eventually lead to pipes, boilers, and radiators. But before any of that could happen, the ancient world needed its first great leap, a way to send heat beneath floors and through walls. And so, as the firelight fades, we drift gently toward the Roman Hypocausts, the earliest ancestor of the radiator. To understand the radiator's story, we step quietly into the Roman world, where stone villas and grand bathhouses rise beneath pale Mediterranean skies. Inside these buildings, something remarkable is happening. Beneath the floors, hidden from sight, the first true central heating systems are breathing warmth into the rooms above. The hypocaust, a word meaning heat from below, it was one of Rome's most ingenious creations, a way to warm entire spaces without a single open flame in sight. Picture a Roman bathhouse at dawn. Light filters through high windows, touching marble floors with a soft glow. The rooms are quiet, still empty of visitors, yet the floors beneath your feet feel warm, almost gently alive. That warmth comes from a network of small pillars supporting the floor, creating a hollow space where hot air can flow. At one end of the building, a furnace burns steadily. Workers feed it with wood, adjusting airflow to keep the temperature just right. The heat travels through the underfloor chamber, rising through flues built into the walls. The entire building becomes a vessel for warmth, carefully guided and controlled. In the hot rooms of the bathhouse, steam curls upward, drifting lazily through the air. The warmth is constant, enveloping, almost serene. Romans didn't just bathe here, they socialized, relaxed, and lingered in the comfort of engineered heat. Hypocausts spread across the empire, reaching Britain, Gaul, and North Africa. Archaeologists still find their remains, rows of little brick pillars, soot-darkened flues, and fragments of floors once warmed by ancient furnaces. They were expensive, labour-intensive, and fuel-hungry, but they worked. And they hinted at a future where warmth could be delivered through architecture itself. Imagine walking across one of those heated floors. The warmth rises slowly, wrapping around you. There's no crackling fire, no drifting smoke, just a quiet, steady comfort, a whisper of what heating could become. As the Roman world changed and eventually faded, the hypocaust faded with it. But the idea, the dream of controlled, centralized warmth, lingered. It waited patiently through centuries of colder, simpler heating, until the world was ready for the next leap. And now we drift into the medieval world, where hearths glow, chimneys rise, and enclosed stoves begin shaping the future of warmth. The Roman hypocausts fall silent, and the world enters the long medieval centuries, a time of timber halls, stone keeps, and winters that crept through every crack and crevice. Heating becomes simpler again, more direct, more intimate. But slowly, quietly, new ideas begin to take shape. Imagine a medieval great hall, a vast room with high rafters and thick walls. In the centre, an open hearth burns, its flames rising toward a hole in the roof. Smoke drifts upward in soft grey ribbons, filling the air with a woody scent. People gather close, because the warmth doesn't travel far. The edges of the room remain cold, shadows stretching across the floor. For centuries this was the standard. A fire in the middle of a room, heat radiating outward, smoke escaping however it could. But then came a simple, transformative invention, the chimney. A channel that carried smoke upward and out, allowing fires to burn hotter and cleaner. Rooms became more comfortable, walls stayed less sooty, and heating began to evolve. With chimneys came enclosed stoves. In Germany, the Kachelofen appeared, beautiful tile-covered stoves that stored heat in their ceramic shells. They warmed rooms slowly, steadily, long after the fire inside had died down. In Russia, massive masonry stoves dominated homes, radiating heat for hours, even days. In Scandinavia, compact iron stoves offered efficient warmth in harsh winters. These stoves were early masterpieces of thermal engineering. They used channels, chambers, and clever airflow to capture heat and release it gradually. For the first time, warmth became something that could be shaped, directed, and preserved. Imagine sitting beside one of these stoves on a winter evening. The tiles are warm beneath your hand. The air around you feels soft and steady. There's no flickering flame, just a quiet, enduring heat. A kind of comfort that feels almost timeless. As the early modern period unfolded, heating continued to improve. Builders experimented with flues that carried warm air through walls. Architects designed homes around central stoves, and slowly the idea of distributing heat, not just generating it, began to take hold. These innovations didn't yet resemble radiators. There were no pipes, no valves, no cast iron. But the principles were forming: controlled heat, stored heat, and the dream of warming multiple rooms from a single source. And as the world approached the Industrial Revolution, a new force emerged: steam. A power that would change factories, cities, and eventually the very way we heat our homes. The medieval stoves glow quietly behind us, and now we step into the world of industry, a world of cranking machinery, rising chimneys, and the steady pulse of steam. The Industrial Revolution didn't just reshape work and cities, it reshaped warmth. Imagine an early 19th century factory. The air is cool, the walls tall and echoing. Workers move through the space, their breath visible in the morning chill. Fires burn in furnaces, not for comfort, but for power. Steam engines thump rhythmically, sending energy through belts and gears. And engineers begin to notice something. Steam carries heat, a lot of it. Steam becomes the first truly controllable heat source. It can be generated in one place and delivered to another. It can travel through pipes. It can be regulated. And soon, factories begin experimenting with steam heating, not for luxury, but for practicality. Warm workers work better. Warm machinery runs more reliably. Warm spaces prevent freezing and damage. Picture a long iron pipe running along a factory wall, warm to the touch, gently radiating heat. It's simple, but revolutionary. For the first time, warmth isn't tied to a flame, it's transported. Engineers refine the idea. Pipes branch out, valves appear, systems grow more complex, and slowly, the concept of heating an entire building from a single boiler begins to take shape. Cities feel the change too. In places like New York, London, and St. Petersburg, large buildings experiment with steam heating. Hospitals, schools, and offices become more comfortable. Winters feel less harsh. And people begin to imagine a future where every room could be warmed evenly, quietly, without smoke or soot. The Industrial Revolution also brings new materials. Cast iron becomes widely available, strong, and affordable. It's perfect for shaping into something that can hold hot water or steam and release heat slowly. The stage is set. The world is ready. And into this moment steps an inventor, Franz Galli, who will take steam, cast iron, and human comfort and combine them into something entirely new, the modern radiator. The medieval stoves glow quietly behind us, and now we step into the world of industry, a world of clanking machinery, rising chimneys, and the steady pulse of steam. The Industrial Revolution didn't just reshape work and cities, it reshaped warmth. Imagine an early 19th century factory. The air is cool, the walls tall and echoing. Workers move through the space, their breath visible in the morning chill. Fires burn in furnaces, not for comfort, but for power. Steam engines thump rhythmically, sending energy through belts and gears. And engineers begin to notice something. Steam carries heat, a lot of it. Steam becomes the first truly controllable heat source. It can be generated in one place and delivered to another. It can travel through pipes. It can be regulated. And soon, factories begin experimenting with steam heating, not for luxury, but for practicality. Warm workers work better. Warm machinery runs more reliably. Warm spaces prevent freezing and damage. Picture a long iron pipe running along a factory wall, warm to the touch, gently radiating heat. It's simple, but revolutionary. For the first time, warmth isn't tied to a flame, it's transported. Engineers refine the idea. Pipes branch out, valves appear, systems grow more complex. And slowly, the concept of heating an entire building from a single boiler begins to take shape. Cities feel the change too. In places like New York, London and St. Petersburg, large buildings experiment with steam heating. Hospitals, schools and offices become more comfortable. Winters feel less harsh. And people begin to imagine a future where every room could be warmed evenly, quietly, without smoke or soot. The Industrial Revolution also brings new materials. Cast iron becomes widely available, strong and affordable. It's perfect for shaping into something that can hold hot water or steam and release heat slowly. The stage is set. The world is ready. And into this moment steps an inventor, Franz Galli, who will take steam, cast iron, and human comfort and combine them into something entirely new, the modern radiator. The Industrial Revolution has given us steam, cast iron, and the idea of distributing warmth through pipes. Now the story turns to a single inventor whose quiet ingenuity changed how the world stays warm. Franz Galli. Imagine St. Petersburg in the mid-19th century. Winter presses against the city with a deep, lingering cold. Snow settles on rooftops and the air carries a sharp stillness. Inside workshops and factories, engineers experiment with steam, searching for ways to tame it. Among them is Galli, a Prussian-born businessman and inventor who has made Russia his home. Galli was fascinated by comfort, not luxury, but the simple, reliable warmth that could make life easier in a harsh climate. He understood steam's potential, and he understood cast iron's strength. What he needed was a way to combine them into something elegant, efficient, and safe. His solution was the hot box, the earliest recognizable radiator. Picture a sturdy cast iron vessel, shaped with repeating columns or sections. Steam or hot water enters through a pipe, filling the hollow interior. The metal warms, and that warmth radiates outward into the room. No flames, no smoke, no soot, just steady, gentle heat. It was revolutionary. Galli's radiators were first installed in large buildings, factories, offices, and wealthy homes. People noticed immediately. Rooms warmed more evenly. The air stayed cleaner, the heat lasted longer, and for the first time warmth could be controlled with valves and flow adjustments. The radiator spread quickly across Russia, then into Europe. Engineers refined the design, adding more sections, improving airflow, and experimenting with shapes. But the core idea remained Galli's, a vessel that radiates heat into a room, powered by steam or hot water. Imagine standing in a quiet 19th century room warmed by one of these early radiators. The cast iron feels warm beneath your hand. The air carries a soft, steady comfort. Outside, snow falls silently, but inside the warmth holds firm. Galli's invention didn't just change heating, it changed architecture. Homes could be built with smaller fireplaces. Rooms could be arranged more freely. Entire buildings could be warmed from a single boiler. And so, the radiator entered the Victorian era, a time of ornate design, rapid expansion, and the growing belief that warmth was not just a luxury, but a necessity. The Victorian era embraced a radiator with enthusiasm. Britain was transforming rapidly, railways expanding, cities growing, and homes filling with new technologies. Heating became part of this wave of progress, and radiators found their place in both grand buildings and modest homes. Imagine a Victorian townhouse on a winter morning. Outside, fog drifts through narrow streets. Inside, a cast-iron radiator stands beneath a tall window, its ornate patterns catching the soft light. Warmth spreads gently through the room, rising in slow currents, touching wallpaper, carpets, and polished wood. Victorian radiators were often works of art. Cast iron allowed for intricate designs, floral motifs, geometric patterns, and decorative flourishes that matched the elaborate interiors of the time. Heating wasn't just functional, it became part of the aesthetic. Public buildings adopted radiators quickly. Libraries, schools, hospitals, and government offices installed them to improve comfort and hygiene. Warmth was seen as a sign of progress, a marker of modernity. In cold industrial cities, radiators made life more bearable, especially during long winters. The technology improved too. Engineers refined boiler systems, introduced better valves, and experimented with both steam and hot water. Radiators became safer, more efficient, and easier to maintain. They were placed beneath windows to counteract drafts, along walls to distribute heat evenly, and in hallways to keep entire homes comfortable. Victorian architecture adapted around them. Rooms no longer needed large fireplaces. Furniture could be arranged more freely. Homes became cleaner, quieter, and more predictable in temperature. Radiators offered a new kind of comfort, steady, reliable, and almost invisible in their operation. Imagine sitting in a Victorian parlour warmed by a radiator. The air feels calm and even. The cast iron glows with a gentle warmth. Outside the world is cold and grey, but inside the room feels sheltered and serene. By the late 19th century, radiators were no longer experimental. They were essential. And as the world moved into the 20th century, heating systems expanded into apartment blocks, offices, and public institutions, shaping the modern experience of indoor warmth. Radiators evolved quickly, but one question shaped their development more than any other. Should they be powered by steam or hot water? Each method offered advantages, and each created its own distinct experience of warmth. Steam radiators were the earliest. They delivered heat quickly and powerfully. When steam entered a radiator, it condensed into water, releasing a burst of warmth. This made steam systems ideal for large buildings where rapid heating was needed. But steam had its quirks. Pipes hissed softly as pressure changed. Radiators clicked and settled as metal expanded. The warmth was strong, but sometimes uneven, and steam systems required careful maintenance to prevent leaks or pressure issues. Hot water radiators emerged as a gentler alternative. Instead of steam, warm water flowed through the radiator, releasing heat gradually. The warmth was softer, more consistent, and easier to control. Hot water systems were quieter too, with fewer sounds and less dramatic temperature shifts. Imagine sitting in a room warmed by a hot water radiator. The heat rises slowly, almost imperceptibly. The cast iron feels warm but not hot. The air carries a steady comfort that lasts for hours. It's a different experience from steam, calmer, more predictable, and often more efficient. Engineers debated the merits of each system. Steam was powerful and simple, ideal for factories and large public buildings. Hot water was refined and comfortable, perfect for homes and smaller spaces. Over time, hot water systems became more common, especially as thermostatic controls improved. The choice between steam and hot water shaped radiator design too. Steam radiators needed strong, thick walls to handle pressure. Hot water radiators could be slimmer, with more delicate patterns and varied shapes. This allowed designers to experiment with aesthetics, creating radiators that were both functional and beautiful. By the early 20th century, both systems were widely used. Cities like New York relied heavily on steam, while much of Europe preferred hot water. Each approach had its own soundscape, its own rhythm, its own personality. And as heating systems spread into apartment blocks, schools, and hospitals, radiators became part of daily life. A quiet presence in the background, offering warmth without demanding attention. The early 20th century brought rapid urbanization. Cities grew upward and outward, filled with apartment blocks, offices, schools, and hospitals. Radiators became essential to this new way of living, providing reliable warmth in spaces where fireplaces were impractical. Imagine a 1920s apartment building. Tall, narrow, built of brick and stone. Inside, each flat has a radiator tucked beneath the window, its cast iron sections warming the room with a steady, familiar comfort. Families gather around them on winter evenings, reading, talking, or simply enjoying the warmth. Radiators improve public health too. Warm schools kept children healthier. Heated hospitals reduced infection risks and made recovery more comfortable. Offices became more productive when workers weren't shivering at their desks. Heating systems grew more sophisticated. Boilers became safer and more efficient. Pipes were insulated. Valves allowed residents to control their own warmth. Radiators became part of the rhythm of daily life, a quiet presence that made modern living possible. Imagine walking down a corridor in an early 20th century school. The air is warm, the walls lined with radiators humming softly. Outside, winter presses against the windows, but inside the building feels sheltered and calm. Radiators also shaped architecture. Rooms could be designed without fireplaces. Buildings could rise taller without worrying about chimney placement. Heating became centralized, predictable, and integrated into the very bones of a structure. By mid-century, radiators were everywhere, in homes, offices, factories, and public buildings. They were no longer a novelty. They were part of the fabric of modern life. As the world moved into the mid-20th century, radiators entered a new era shaped by modernism, a design movement that favoured clean lines, simplicity, and functional beauty. The ornate Victorian patterns faded, replaced by sleeker forms that matched the changing look of homes and public buildings. Imagine a post-war living room in the 1950s. The furniture is simple, the colours muted, the shapes geometric. Against one wall sits a radiator that looks different from its predecessors. It's slimmer, smoother, made from steel rather than heavy cast iron. It blends into the room rather than standing out. Warmth becomes part of the background, steady and unobtrusive. New materials played a major role in this transformation. Steel allowed radiators to be lighter and more versatile. Aluminium began to appear too, offering faster heat transfer and modern styling. These materials made radiators easier to manufacture, easier to install, and easier to integrate into contemporary architecture. Heating systems improved as well. Boilers became more efficient, thermostats more precise, and piping more reliable. Radiators could be placed strategically to create even warmth throughout a home. Designers experimented with horizontal radiators, vertical panels, and low-profile units that fit beneath wide windows. Imagine walking into a mid-century office building. The air feels warm but not heavy. Along the walls, slim radiators run quietly, almost unnoticed. Their presence is subtle, part of the building's rhythm. They offer comfort without drawing attention. Modernism also encouraged a shift in how people thought about heating. Warmth became a standard expectation, not a luxury. Homes were built with central heating as a given. Radiators were no longer symbols of progress. They were simply part of everyday life. By the 1960s and 70s, radiators had become streamlined, efficient, and widely adopted. They were found in homes, schools, hospitals, and workplaces across the world. Their designs continued to evolve, reflecting new tastes and new technologies. And as the century progressed, radiators entered yet another phase, one shaped by science, efficiency, and a deeper understanding of how heat moves through a room. To understand radiators fully, we need to explore the quiet science behind them, the way heat moves, rises, settles, and fills a room. Radiators work through a blend of convection and radiation, two gentle processes that shape the warmth we feel. Imagine a radiator warming a room. Inside, hot water or steam flows through its hollow sections. The metal warms, and that warmth spreads outward. Some of it radiates directly into the room, like sunlight warming your skin. But most of it moves through convection, the slow, steady rising of warm air. Warm air rises from the radiator, drifting upward toward the ceiling. As it cools, it sinks again, creating a soft cycle that circulates warmth throughout the space. This movement is quiet, almost invisible, but it's what makes a room feel evenly heated. Placement matters too. Radiators are often installed beneath windows because cold air entering the room creates a downward draft. The radiator counteracts this, sending warm air upward to mix with the cooler air. The result is a more balanced, comfortable environment. Thermostatic valves added another layer of control. These small devices allow users to adjust the flow of hot water, fine-tuning the temperature of each room. They respond to changes in air temperature, opening or closing automatically to maintain a steady warmth. Imagine sitting in a room with a modern radiator. The air feels calm and even. There's no sudden burst of heat, no dramatic shift, just a gentle, continuous comfort. The radiator works quietly, responding to the room's needs without drawing attention. Efficiency became a major focus in the late 20th century. Engineers studied how different shapes, materials, and fin designs affected heat output. Double-panel radiators, convector fins, and improved insulation all contributed to better performance. The science of heat also influenced architecture. Homes were designed with heating in mind, ensuring that radiators could warm spaces effectively. Windows became better insulated. Walls were built to retain heat. The entire structure of a building began to work in harmony with its heating system. And as technology advanced, radiators continued to evolve, entering an era where design, sustainability, and innovation would reshape them once again. Today's radiators are more varied than ever before. They come in countless shapes, sizes, and styles, from minimalist panels to sculptural designs that double as decor. Modern homes treat radiators not just as functional objects, but as part of the visual landscape. Imagine a contemporary living room. Against one wall stands a tall, vertical radiator with smooth lines and a warm, matte finish. It blends seamlessly with the room's aesthetic, offering both comfort and elegance. The warmth it provides is gentle, steady, and efficient. Materials have evolved too. Aluminium radiators heat quickly and cool quickly, making them ideal for modern heating systems. Steel radiators offer durability and sleek styling. Some designs incorporate recycled materials, reflecting a growing focus on sustainability. Low-temperature heating systems have become more common, especially in energy-efficient homes. These systems use warm water rather than very hot water, reducing energy consumption while still providing comfortable heat. Radiators designed for low-temperature systems often have larger surfaces or built-in convection fins to maximize efficiency. Smart technology has entered the world of heating as well. Radiators can now be paired with smart thermostats, allowing users to control warmth from their phones or automate heating schedules. Sensors can detect when a room is occupied, adjusting heat accordingly. Imagine a modern home on a winter evening. The radiators warm each room gently, responding to the time of day, the weather outside, and the presence of people. The system works quietly, almost invisibly, creating a cocoon of comfort. Designers have embraced creativity too. Radiators shaped like ladders, waves, geometric panels, or minimalist sculptures appear in homes and hotels. Some are painted in bold colours. Others are designed to disappear entirely, blending into walls or becoming part of furniture. Contemporary radiators reflect a balance of beauty, efficiency, and innovation. They honour the past while embracing the future, a future where heating becomes cleaner, smarter, and more sustainable. And that future is already beginning to take shape. As we reach the final chapter, we look ahead, toward a future where warmth becomes cleaner, quieter, and more environmentally responsible. Radiators may change shape, shrink, or even disappear, but the desire for comfort will remain. Imagine a home warmed not by a traditional boiler, but by a heat pump. These devices draw warmth from the air or ground, even in cold weather, and deliver it efficiently throughout the home. They work best with low-temperature heating systems, which pair beautifully with modern radiators and underfloor heating. In some homes, radiators may become slimmer and more discreet. In others, they may be replaced entirely by radiant wall panels or invisible heating elements built into floors and ceilings. The future of warmth may be less about visible objects and more about seamless comfort. Smart homes will play a major role. Heating systems will learn patterns: when people wake, when they sleep, when they leave the house, and adjust automatically. Sensors will monitor humidity, temperature, and air quality, creating environments that feel naturally comfortable. Imagine a future living room on a winter night. There's no loud boiler, no dramatic temperature shifts. The warmth is soft and even, guided by intelligent systems that respond to the world outside and the people inside. The experience feels effortless. Sustainability will shape every decision. Radiators will be made from recycled materials. Heating systems will use renewable energy. Homes will be insulated more effectively, reducing the need for constant warmth. The future of heating will be gentle on both people and the planet. And yet, the essence remains the same. From ancient hearths to Roman hypocausts, from medieval stoves to Victorian cast iron, from mid-century steel to modern aluminium, the story of warmth is a story of comfort, of creating spaces where people can rest, gather, and feel at home. As this journey through the history of the radiator comes to a close, we return to that simple idea: warmth as a quiet companion, shaping our lives in ways we rarely notice but always appreciate. Thank you so much for sharing this quiet moment with me. If you'd like more bedtime stories like this, then please subscribe now. And if there's a topic you'd love to hear as you drift off, let me know in the comments. Sleep well and be safe.